for such an insightful talk. Your views and experiences will be the guiding light for managing our personal finance. I'm sure this is true for all the listeners. And someone has rightly said, no one can make millions and keep millions without learning about personal finance. So now we will move to the question and answer session. Those who want to ask the questions can do so by unmuting their mics one by one after raising the hand.
Hello, sir. This is Janvi here. I
Yes,
have a
Janvi.
question. It's like, it's like my parents are earning fine. So now, if I'll be starting earning, so I'll be saving all of my money. So if I'm saving all of my money, will the proportion of me dividing my fund will be the same as you said it earlier, like a 5% in gold, 20,
Yeah.
30% in stocks, or sorry, 10, 15% in stock, and the other in the other sectors.
Yeah.
So will it be the same? Because I for now want to save majority of my chunk. So I was planning of SIPs and everything, like distributing in such a way that I could actually do an SIP of 30-40,000 per month. So will that be okay for me? Like 10% in saving, like 10% for liquid funds, and other for the mutual funds where I can invest in some large cap funds or invest international markets or something like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
So will that be okay? Because for me right now, as you said that. Saving for the future is not that thing. Like I want to save it for the future, but I have like my financial condition is little okay as of now because my parents are
Yeah.
earning.
So, Janavi, that's a very good question. See, even if you are, say, financially comfortable, which means you don't need rent, which means you don't need living expenses, I would still suggest that you save 50% in debt and 30% in equity. The way you save in equity is exactly what you said. You can pick a few mutual funds, so 30%, and you can buy SIPs of those mutual funds, and you can keep buying every month. So that is fine, but I would strongly suggest don't get over
Okay,
aggressive.
okay,
Don't get over aggressive and cross the 30% allocation. Because even if you look at the markets right now, the markets are hovering
okay.
around 48,000. The P's are all over the place. It's highly overvalued. There's a lot of optimism. So, how much money you will make over the next 2 to 3 years is actually questionable in the share markets. So, please invest in the SIP route. That's the right thing.
What about index funds?
Yeah, it's a good question. I was not sure how many of you might know index funds, so I didn't touch upon it. But given that you are asking for the purpose of the audience, an index fund is nothing but an index could be, say, a BSC top 30, and an index fund is nothing that a mutual fund uh, buys. So if a top 30 BSE 30 companies are there, they have a certain weight and a certain proportion in that fund. So Reliance might be 8%, HDFC 7%, TCS is 10%. So an index fund is
Yeah,
nothing but a mutual fund. I'm just explaining it for everybody.
Reliance is 16. Yeah,
I'm just explaining. Eight. I'll answer
yeah.
the question also after this. It basically replicates that index, and so if Reliance is 8% in BSE top 30, this mutual fund will keep it at the same ratio. The benefit of that is that there is no commission charges. The commission for an index fund, typically for a mutual fund, commission charges a management fees are 1.5 to 2%. With an index fund, it's negligible, 0.2 to 0.3%. So when should you go for an index fund? You should go for an index fund is when you think your fund manager might not be able to give you so much extra return, which is called alpha, over the benchmark fund. Now, if you are buying a large cap fund, that is when you should buy something called an index fund, because large cap funds are so well covered, TCS, HDFC, RIL, it's highly unlikely a mutual fund manager will be able to generate a lot of alpha. So if it is a large cap fund, please definitely buy an index fund. If you're planning to go into the small cap and the mid cap, the index fund is not a good idea, because there is opportunity for the fund manager to give you value.
Okay, okay. Thank you so much. Yeah.
Yeah, thanks.
Hello, sir.
Hi.
Sir, this is Aditya. I just want to ask, means मुझे अगर STP करनी है from a liquid fund or a debt fund to my equity portfolio, what should be means usually बोला जाता है कि interest cycle के अनुसार आप पहले पार्क कीजिए पैसे. So is it means कैसे किया जाए कि पहले STP करना है मुझे, not the SIP?
हाँ, तो आदित्य आपका अगर एसटीपी का फंडा बहुत सिंपल है कि अगर आपको यू बेसिकली डोंट वांट टू एड्रेस द टाइमिंग प्रॉब्लम, इसलिए लोग एसटीपी करते हैं कि मेरे को पता नहीं अभी मार्केट ऊपर है कि नीचे है, अगर मेरे पास 5 लाख लमसम पैसा है तो मैं 5 लाख एक शॉट में डालना नहीं चाहता मार्केट में. So what people do is they transfer it to an STP, which is nothing but a liquid fund, a debt fund, and every month from that STP, that say about 10,000, 20,000, 40,000 out of the 5 lakh will get transferred from to the SIP fund. So that is what the objective is. To answer your question, Aditya, अगर आप अभी तो आपको STP करना ही चाहिए क्योंकि मार्केट इतना ऊपर है तो यू शुड नॉट टेक द टाइमिंग गैम्बल. तो अगर आप अगले 6 महीने तक इन्वेस्टमेंट कर रहे हैं, प्लीज गो टू द STP SIP रूट. Makes a lot of sense. There is some tax complication that will be there, but that अगर आप म्यूचुअल फंड हाउस को बोलेंगे कि आप मेरे को कैपिटल गेन स्टेटमेंट भेज दो, वो भेज देंगे.
ओके सर, आई हैव वन मोर क्वेश्चन.
Yes.
जब हमें म्यूचुअल फंड शिफ्ट करना है, बेसिकली यूजुअली क्या होता है, आफ्टर इस रियलाइजेशन आफ्टर 2 or 3 years वी रियलाइज कि अपने फंड ने इतना अच्छा परफॉर्मेंस नहीं किया एंड वी गॉट अनदर गुड म्यूचुअल फंड टू इन्वेस्ट. सो ट्रांजैक्शन कैसा होना चाहिए एंड हाउ टू मिस रिडम एंड अगेन स्टे इन्वेस्टेड इन अदर म्यूचुअल फंड?
हाँ, तो आदित्य अगर आप देखोगे, इफ योर नेक्स्ट म्यूचुअल फंड इज विद द सेम फंड हाउस, अगर आपके पास HDFC टॉप 100 है, आप वहाँ से HDFC बैलेंस एडवांटेज में जा रहे हो, so I think the costs are much lower. Selling is very easy. So first question, selling is very easy. अगर आपको redeem करना है, if you have a online account, it happens overnight. You can just go click. अगर आपका पेपर है, ऑफलाइन अकाउंट है, you need to just fill the mutual fund form up. एक फॉर्मेट होता है जो आपको देते हैं. आप अगर आप फंड हाउस को कुरियर कर देंगे तो he will redeem the money. So redemption is very easy. Can be done online or offline. There are certain charges which are applicable depending tenure पे होता है. 1 साल के अंदर आप एग्जिट करेंगे तो इतना लगेगा, 2 साल के अंदर आप एग्जिट करेंगे तो इतना लगेगा, which anyway have to apply. If you are shifting within the same fund house, I think the expenses are lower.
Okay sir, thank you and sorry for this is my last question. यूजुअली बोला जाता है मिस बिफोर रिडम्पशन मिस अगर मेरा गोल है 10 years का आणि आफ्टर 7 year यूजुअली प्रेफर करते लोग कि रिडम्पशन करना एंड अगर इक्विटी म्यूचुअल फंड है तो वहाँ से डेट में पैसा डालना. तो उसमें एक पूरा लमसम अमाउंट मतलब पूरा कॉर्पस निकाला जाए या सिर्फ प्रॉफिट बुकिंग करे, जो प्रॉफिट निकला है उतना ही जस्ट डेट फंड में सिक्योर किया जाए?
आदित्य अगर आप सोचेंगे लोग ऐसा क्यों करते हैं टिपिकली, क्योंकि जो 10 साल का इन्वेस्टमेंट है ना, 10 साल के बाद कोई मेजर गोल आने वाला है. सो फॉर एग्जांपल मेजर गोल हो सकता है कि आपका एजुकेशन, आपकी शादी या घर खरीदना है. सो देयर इज अ गोल दैट कम्स इन. सो व्हाट पीपल जनरली डू इज 8th या 7th ईयर के पहले they start pulling in little amount so that at the end of 10th year you don't want to be in a state where the market has crashed and you have lost money. So this is why people do that. 7th or 8th year they start pulling out a little money. Now the question is, the way you should look at it is, if at the end of 10th year you're going to get 100 rupees and you start redeeming from 7th year, so if there are 36 months to go, you should ideally redeem 100 rupees by 36 every month so that you win the timing game. That's the best way to do it. It's not so much about profit booking ya nahi. The total amount by maturity divided by the number of periods available. That's how you have to look at it.
Okay sir, thank you for the insights.
Thanks Aditya.
Sir, as a 20-year-old, how should I assess my risk ability? Like, I haven't entered the market, so there's a fact that based on your risk ability, you should buy large, small, or mid caps. So how do I assess my risk ability as a 20-year-old?
My honest point is you should, irrespective of your risk ability, I'll answer that, you should stay away from mid and small caps. But if you have to assess it, this is the way you have to assess it. First, you should see, to be honest, how is your finances with respect to your parents. Okay? So you have to answer questions like, do you need money from them? So for instance, if you're staying in a flat, how is the financial, how are your parents well off financially? Do they have loans? Is your father still working? Is your mother still working? Do they need anything from you? So that is step one. Step two, you have to look, so this is the finance part, your family part. Step two, you have to look at is what is your individual aspiration. So some of you might have aspirations that I want to study outside India, which means it's a crore in MBA fees or master's fees, which that means you cannot take that kind of risk. That means you'll have to become very conservative. The next thing you might say is, I have done my engineering and I'm going to do an MBA from India, which means it's comfortable, and I want to invest in the markets, I want to experience the thrill of it. Your ability to take a risk is a lot higher. The first cut is family, second cut is your individual aspiration, and the third cut is what you are as an individual. This is how you should see how your risk taking ability is.
Okay, thank you.
But to answer your question, Meet, you should never take too much risk, because you will generally end up losing money. To give you an answer.
Sure, sure. Thank you, sir.
Okay. Good evening, sir. Anudeep here.
Yes, Anudeep, please.
So my question was, as you mentioned, mid cap, small cap, and all varieties of we can invest. But what you will say about directly investing into Nifty 50 as an index? Because if we see the CAGR of Nifty, so it has given a 2-digit return. So in spite of going such a research, we could directly invest in Nifty 50 and
Yeah,
as a
absolutely.
common investor.
Yeah, absolutely. Anudeep, you can. So Nifty 50 is nothing but a large cap index fund. So
Correct.
if you pick a large cap, you should definitely invest in large cap. And within large cap, and Janvi also asked me that, you should pick an index. So I gave an example of BSE 30. You can easily pick the Nifty 50. Is a very good instrument. Completely
And secondly, if we could see about the global indexes, so Nasdaq is specific to technology. So what's your call on? It will be bullish on IT and other sectors as well in coming decade or any say?
Yeah, Nasdaq is not per se too focused on technology. I think it's 30-35% if my memory holds me right.
Correct. What's a major of 50 chunk goes into technology.
Yeah,
That's
the four big stocks. See, when you invest in the Nasdaq or the NYSE or the S&P, you're taking largely a bet on the American economy, not just tech firms. So tech firms also make money through the other elements of the economy. So are you taking a bet in the next 10 years the American economy will dominate, will do very well? There is no doubt about that. Also, the currency will largely remain strong compared to the emerging economy currencies like ours. So I think blindly people can invest in the American economy. There's nothing wrong in it.
okay. So it will be having a bullish trend in coming decade as well.
Over 10 years, see, right now obviously it's a little high in terms of valuations. Over 10 years, it will definitely.
Okay, that's all. Thank you.
Thanks.
Hello, Sandeep.
Yes. I only see.
Thanks for the
Hey,
amazing
yeah,
session.
please.
Yeah. So my question is like, how good are the company-sponsored medical insurances? Like, especially for like if a company sponsors your parents' insurance as well. So are they good enough for parents, or should we buy an additional insurance as well?
Yeah, so that's a good question. That's a very good question. See, the way a company insurance works is, I think they will say that we will cover you or your family till a certain amount. I think that amount generally is 5 to 7 lakhs. That's first cut. Then they will say, in case, and it'll have a lot of diseases that will be covered. Definitely with corporate insurance, more number of diseases are covered than what you would buy as an individual. So that's the first cut. Then the company says you can buy a top up. So if you need say 5 lakhs more or 10 lakhs more, you can buy a top up, and the premium you will pay will be lesser than what you would pay if you went as an individual. So to answer your question, the company program is very good. If you need a greater sum, you can always buy a top up at a discounted rate.
Okay. So the idea is like the quality of company sponsored is much better than the insurances we are getting in market, right?
Yeah. So what
Like
happens
the
is,
disease they are covering and all.
when a company negotiates in bulk, they get a lot more covered than what you can negotiate as an individual.
Oh, that's an amazing insight. Thank you for that.
Hello.
Yes, Shivam.
Hi, good evening, sir. There's one question which a lot of individuals my age have. So, currently, I'm in the final year of my engineering, and I wish to achieve financial independence from my parents. So, like, once I get a job, once I start my job, I don't want to take a single penny from them. And subsequently, after working for 2 years, I want to sponsor my own education. So though I'll not be working after 2 years for 2 years during the course of my education. So, what should be an ideal saving strategy or investment strategy for this duration?
Shivam, that's a very good question. I think a lot of people in this audience will be thinking of the same thing. So, say I'll first go step by step. What you should do immediately is ensure that all your parents, your grandparents, whoever is 45 plus in your family has medical insurance. If they don't have it, please go ahead and get buy one for them. That is step one. Step two, what you have to do is given 2 years later, you have to study all your savings. You should put in fairly fixed instruments, so PPF, VPF, the fixed instruments. Don't gamble in the share markets. 2 years is too small a sum. And when you go to study, uh, unless your father can really or mother can really sponsor it, avoid taking money from them and go through the education loan is what I would suggest. So first, get them independent from their insurance, take care of their health. Next 2 years, avoid living on their money. So if you are earning some whatever salary you are earning, live on your expense. You can stay with them, but live on your expense. And after 2 years, avoid taking the loan, avoid taking your dad's cash and just go on the loan. That's what I think you can do. And
All right.
avoid all equity markets and risky instruments.
Okay, okay, that helps a lot. Thank you.
Hello.
Yes.
So continuing to previous question, like, so there are various company like who are providing loans, like you might have heard about Prodigy or something. So
Mm-hmm.
there are these Indian banks like the naturalized Indian banks, and there are these companies NBFCs basically like Prodigy, who are also providing education loans at rates. So like,
Mm-hmm.
can you tell me a difference like why the rates are discounted? One thing I know is like they are on the appreciation of the US dollars. Basically, they are providing loans in USDs, and they think that over a period of time that USD will grow. That's why the rate is quite similar. But still, if you can like spot the difference, it will be great.
Yeah, to be honest, I don't know how the Prodigy model works. I will need to read up. But if you see the loan rates right now, it's something linked to the repo rate. It's called repo rate link rate, and it's one of the lowest I think it's ever been in Indian history. It's currently so home loan rates are between 7 to 7.5%. It's one of the lowest, and I doubt any NBFC or any fintech player can go lower than what is currently being given. I really doubt. So if some player is offering an education loan at that lower rate, I think it's going to be very risky. You might have to check the other charges, the cesses, the taxes, closure fees, because all the PSU banks are keeping very limited amounts on the repo rate, is what I would say. So it's highly unlikely a third party startup or a fintech player can give you such low rates. Something is off.
Okay, thank you.
Good evening, sir.
Yes, Vaibhav.
Sir, I was wondering if as a final year student, I have two job offers in my hand.
Mm-hmm.
Say both have equal CTC providing us, but one of them is giving a say a stock option, and other one is giving in hand. So which one would be a better option in a long run?
यार देखो है ना मतलब वैभव I am a guy who lives here and now. I will take what gives me money right now. So if some company comes and says our stock is going to grow 10x in 5 years, I never believe such stories. I am always a guy. What are you giving me right now? What will I get right now? So this is how I would think. But it depends on which company it is. If it is Amazon and if it is their share price and everybody knows how their share price operates, it might make sense to wait also. But my honest suggestion, generally in life, what you get now, you take it. No, shouldn't worry so much of the future.
Okay, sir. Okay, sir. Thank you, sir.
Is it Amazon? Just out of curiosity.
No, sir. I was like, if a situation come, I'm not in that situation right now.
Okay, no. My honest suggestion: always go for the company that's giving more cash in hand. A lot of it could be narrative and fiction. You never know the rest.
Okay, sir. Okay. Thank you, sir.
Hi, good evening, Sandeep.
Yes, Nihal, please go on.
So, in the news, I have read that many financial analysts are saying that emerging markets like India are
Mhm.
going to strongly outperform the US market, the US economy, rather. So, if I had to bet my money, would it be on the American economy or the Indian economy?
See, you have to understand why they say that. So, the reason they are saying that in the short run, what is happening is there is a lot of free money because the US has reduced the interest rate. So, a lot of free money that is easily available because the interest rate in the US is so low. All this money has to go outside the US and will typically shore up the emerging markets. So, in the short run, some people think emerging markets will do better because there is so much free money. Now, what you also have to understand, the medium and the long run, US will start having inflation. There's so much free money, there is going to be inflation, which means they will start increasing the interest rates. Which means some of that money will start flowing out of the emerging markets and go to the US. So, over a period of 3 years plus, it is the American market that will dominate. 1 to 3 years, maybe it's some of the emerging markets that will do better.
So, in the long run, the American economy is the preferred choice, right?
Yeah, after say about 3 years plus, that is ideally because it also gives you the currency gain. The rupee will only depreciate; it's never going to appreciate.
Yes. Thank you.
Okay, I just had a question. I hope the session was helpful. I'm just trying to take some feedback from the audience members. I hope it was not too much gyan and it was relevant. So I just like to hear what you thought, what should change, etc. And
So
anyone
it
can go.
was a wonderful and interactive session.
Okay.
So it was very insightful and informative. I'm sure it's helpful for all the listeners.
So it was indeed helpful considering that you at least gave us a start as to where we should look for investing our money.
Mhm.
Especially with two tables you presented earlier, I actually took screenshots of them. So it was a very easy access reference for us, so that we can go ahead and research on our own, because we won't go anywhere without researching on our own.
Yeah.
So the most helpful thing for me is that it gave us a very good start.
Okay. Okay, that's good to hear. Any more questions?
Sir,
Yeah.
I would just like to give the feedback.
Yes, Nihal.
So, adding to what Shivam said, you also pointed out some of the ground realities. That is also very important. Like, you know, some people say keep on investing in the stock market. तुम्हारा पैसा double हो जाएगा 2 साल में. But
Okay.
that's not really the case.
Okay, that's good. That's good. Anything else you would like to hear? If I do this session going forward elsewhere, anything else you think, or any other open question you have which I think should be answered?
No, sir. The session actually covered everything. Like any person, like any student, for like from any student perspective, it was really a apt session because it considered every single point that we were lacking to know about.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great. Thanks.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Also, I have one more question. Like, can I ask you?
Yeah, please go.
Yeah, see, actually, this is what I've heard. Okay, it's like if you invest for a 7-8 years period, after like after a certain period of time, you have to reallocate your everything. Like there is always asset allocation every time you invest. So how do you do that exactly? Like I've heard people saying that you have to always remove money from your investments. Like if you invest in some shares or something like that, you have to book your profit every single year or something like that. So what exactly you should do there?
Yeah. So Janavi, this is again a very good question. The principle which I follow is I start with an allocation in my mind that 50 is debt, 30 is equity, say 10 is gold, and 10 is something else. And it's not 7-8 years. You should see at the end of each year roughly if it is in that direction. And
Okay.
so if 50 is say your ideal state, if it is plus or minus 5, if it ranges between 45 to 55, don't do anything. If it goes beyond the 5% interval, is when you should either sell or buy. That's how you should look at it. The second thing, specifically within share and mutual funds, when it comes to profit booking, I have always believed it's better to buy the mutual fund route because the fund manager is doing the profit booking and he knows exactly he will always have more information to buy and sell at a better rate. It is very difficult for an individual to do it. So let the fund manager handle it. He will know when to sell and when to buy. You just buy it and hold on to it, and every year see if that fund is doing fine or not. I think that's how you should look at it.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. Thank you so much. Yeah.
Hello, sir. Anudip here again.
Yes, Anudip, please.
So my question was like, as you have briefed out many of the things and the kickstart is given from where you have to start, but on daily basis, how we could go and do research on some individual basis just to study in more detail.
Yeah,
like,
yeah. So I'll tell you how I did with myself. At least I read. So one, you should buy my book first of all. Sorry, thank you for that. So first, please go buy my book. There is an entire section on personal finance which I cover a lot of this in much more detail. So please go buy that book. It will help you a lot. Thank you. Second thing, what I think helps at least with me is I read Economic Times Wealth. ET Wealth is a supplement that comes every Monday, and I read that. It's very easy to understand. So every Monday, just ask your newspaper guy, 6 or 8 rupees. ET Wealth is that. So a lot of these questions are covered in it. The second thing, if you need a place to research, I generally go either to Value Research Online. Just go to the site, Value Research Online. You can search mutual funds. You can compare their returns, risk, all of that you can compare. I think that's how you can look at it. But definitely read ET Wealth. It will help you a lot. Every Monday it comes.
Okay.
Hello, Sandeep.
Yes, Aditya.
How we should look our means my stock portfolio and my overall portfolio in general means as I guess Janvi asked that asset reallocation. If I have some stocks in my portfolio too, so how to look I mean that 30 and 50% like.
Correct. So if you keep it at 30 overall, if you are an active trader, Aditya, if you say you have a demat account and you actively trade, I think the way you should look at it is so if you say have bought certain shares, say of a company called Burger King, you should always have a stop loss. Say you have invested 100 rupees, you should say that ever it goes say below 85, I'll tolerate only a loss of 15%. No matter how good the company is, I will sell it off. So if you're an active trader, have a stop loss 10 to 15%. If it goes below, I will sell it off. Now, when it increases, what certain people do is they book profits, which is also what Janavi was trying to ask me. So if it goes to 120, no matter how good the stock is, I will pull it off and then pull out my money and literally only start playing on money which I have earned or profited. So that's how you should do it. So overall, keep the cap at 30%. Within that, if you're an active trader, never go below a stop loss of more than 15%. And when it increases, you take an individual call saying, I will sell when it crosses 20% above my principal and pull my profit. That's how you can look at it.
Okay, it's generally similar to the swing trading, I guess.
Yeah, yeah. I'm exactly telling you that. I'm telling you exactly that.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, if there are no more questions, should we call it a day? Yeah, please go on.
Sir, I actually do a trading. Means I have my demat account. So some few months ago, I used to do intraday,
Mm-hmm.
and in that few days, I made profit like 1k or 2k. And then the news came that we are in like recession, and then all the stocks means prices went down, and that was like very small thing. So no one was even means there to buy that, so I was not able to sell the shares, and then somehow means at the lower price I sold them and around made 5 to 6k loss. So what do you think about this news and with relation with the intraday wealth?
Yeah, Alpesh, I have always been a believer remember that this day trading business doesn't work. It only works when you're either playing with your father-in-law's money or you're working for a big corporate. On your own money, you might win once or twice, you will always lose because that one incident will happen that will wipe out your entire profit. I am always a believer intraday never works. Uh, and if I have to actively invest in the share market and buy it, you keep it for 3 years. And only after that you should look at it. That's my honest suggestion because reading those derivative patterns, reading those charts, and then taking a punt as a retail investor is highly unlikely you will ever make.
Okay, sir. Okay, sir.
Hello, sir. It was an amazing session. I would like to ask a very curious general question.
Yes,
You
Dinesh.
pointed out the rupees value is always going to depreciate. So, can you give more insight on that?
Yes, I can, Dinesh. So if you look at the history of the rupee, when it was 2009, it was 40, and today the rupee is around 75. So what happens is when the Reserve Bank, so if you see exports is about 10% of our GDP, and the Modi government wants to push the exports. Exports is not really doing well in India. He wants to push it to about 15% of our GDP. Now, how do you push exports? You make your products cheaper. How do you make your products cheaper? Is when you depreciate your currency. So, in going forward over the next 10 years, India will try to focus on its exports. If you want to exports to go to 20% of its GDP. And the way that will happen is it can never increase its currency. It always has to depreciate its currency. Hence, the long-term outlook of the rupee is close to 100 because the country will want to drive its exports. That's the line of reasoning.
Okay, I get it. So, what's the significance that we can get it from? Learning pearls from this.
You can't do much, honestly, Dinesh. The only thing is you can invest in an international stock market like the American stock market because the dollar will appreciate, and because you have invested in the dollar, you will also make a gain of what the dollar is gaining on the rupee, which is called the currency gain. That's the only implication that is there for you.
Okay, I get it. Thank you so much, sir.
Yeah, thanks, Dinesh. All right, Nihar, Aditi, if there's nothing else, we'll call it a day.
Yes, sir. So we are truly honored by your presence today. Thank you so much for being with us and enlightening all of us with your valuable insights. Thank you, everyone. Appreciate you being here. We will see you next time. Thanks again for joining us today.
Thank you, everyone. I had a very good time. Thank you.